Welcome to Mom Talk, the podcast where we talk about everything that has to do with motherhood, which is literally everything. Everybody says being a mom is hard, and they are right. But they also end the conversation there. So we are going to be talking about everything and nothing is off limits. My goal with this podcast is to have moms on the podcast for me to interview, especially the moms that I look up to, the ones I've learned from. But until I can convince my mom friends to sit on this couch with me, you guys are stuck with me. My name is Aspen Bailey. I have a background in YouTube and social media, but I have never really fully put myself out there until this podcast. I've tried a few times and honestly, it was terrifying and kind of a mess, and I just wasn't in the right place mentally and emotionally. So, third time's a charm. We're giving this podcast a go. And I will say, my whole heart is healed and ready to dive into this. So, I'm excited that you're here. If you guys were here for the original two podcasts, thanks for coming and giving me a chance again. If this is your first podcast, welcome. I'm so lucky to be able to use the knowledge that I've gained over the years through social media and YouTube to put towards this. And I'm also still learning. I don't know a ton about podcasting other than the fact that I love talking, I love following God, and I feel really inspired to do this. So that's how I got here. I don't know how you got here, but I'm grateful that you're here. Okay, maybe let's not say here so many times. Okay, moving on. I am going to talk today about motherhood and specifically a phrase that I've heard so many moms say, and it's, I'm not a good mom, or wow, if I do that, I am not a good mom. Or I say this all the time. Yeah, wow, what a good mom I am, letting my kid eat ice cream for dinner. So, if you have found yourself in any of those categories thinking you aren't a good mom, or telling yourself constantly that you are a bad mom, this episode is for you. A few weeks back, I asked on my Instagram story for people to vote if they feel like they're a good mom. And honestly, I was a little bit surprised on what people said and admitted to. Okay, so I said, if you don't feel like you're a good mom, why? Ooh, you know what? Darn. I did two polls on my Instagram story. I only screenshotted the results from one of them. Whoops. Okay. That's fine. We're just going to guess because honestly, I listened to this podcast and she was like, "Oh yeah, you can't go off of our stats because we just pull our Instagram audience. It's like 1 million followers, but that doesn't count." Well, my Instagram just hit 10,000, which I'm super proud of and super pumped about. But if she's saying her million doesn't count for legit statistics, my 10,000 definitely doesn't count. So it's fine that we don't have the results. Shocker, you all probably guessed they were majority of the moms feel like they aren't good moms. I did have a few people message me and they said, I am 50-50. Some days I feel like I'm a good mom, some days I don't. So I wish there was an in between. So I guess I bet all moms are majority feeling 50-50. Sometimes you feel like you are doing good, sometimes you feel like you're doing bad. But I'm here to tell you that we need to stop measuring good and bad because I think that is unrealistic. And so, my next poll was, if you feel like you are not a good mom, why? And I asked, focusing on my career, not playing enough with my kids, distracted by daily life and to dos, or an other category. And 8% was focusing on my career, which I think is kind of normal for the people who follow me. They're a lot of stay at home moms, and that's awesome. And so that makes sense why it's 8%. I mainly put these three and then the other category because these are the things that I feel take me away from my kids or make me feel like quote unquote a bad mom. And it's definitely focusing on my career because I love being a mother. I'm literally making a mom podcast because I think motherhood is so sacred and special and divine. And I really struggled trying to find the balance of still being myself and being me and chasing a career and being that businesswoman that I've always wanted to be. So, 8% of you agreed with me. That's where your struggle is. I was probably 70% there, and then I quit my job, and now I'm starting a podcast. So, hopefully that's going to go down. But by the end of this, I'm hoping we can change our narrative about what a good mom is. So stick with me. Okay, not playing enough with my kids was 21%. Let me tell you, it is so hard to play pretend and imagine and get in that realm of play with my kids. And I don't know if you guys feel the same way, but once I'm there and it is so fun. But until I get there, man, it is really hard for me. So, if you are playing with your kids the best to your ability, that's great. Just give yourself some credit that you're there and you're engaged. And if you're not, majority of people said distracted by daily life to-dos. 55% of you said that's what makes you feel like you're a bad mom. So if you're not playing with your kids because you're doing the laundry, which literally never ends, it's so frustrating. I just put all of the laundry away that I cleaned, every dirty piece of clothing in my house, and my laundry basket is already half full just 2 days later. It's so exhausting. So if you're doing laundry, if you're cleaning the house, if you're cooking dinner, if you're doing any of the other necessary things that moms have to do to keep the household running, why on earth are you beating yourself up for not playing with your kids? It is just absurd to me the amount of pressure and expectations that we put on ourselves as a mom to get everything done, but also while you're trying to get everything done, you're trying to also play with your kids and engage with them in that. So let's just stop beating ourselves up because you can't be in two places at once and you can't do everything. So why don't we do this instead? Why don't we give ourselves credit for the things that we do correctly, quote unquote, correctly, and give ourselves compassion for the things that we don't do correctly, quote unquote. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, I also film all of these and put them on YouTube. And so if you're not watching, I'm doing air quotes. But, anyways, this is what I found because I would beat myself up for all of this, that I didn't play with my daughter enough, that I didn't play with my son how he should and help his development because now he's 9 months and they say face to face is so important when they're 3 months and I was working most of the time so I didn't do that. And I would beat myself up. Oh, my daughter has this great imagination and I don't get to play with her. Well, guess what? I wasn't giving myself credit for the times that I was playing with her or the time that I did do face to face with my son. I think as human beings, especially as moms, we are very good at focusing on what we aren't doing or what we failed to do and not focusing on what we did accomplish or did succeed in. So let's just take a minute and just think about all the things you have done correctly with your kids, all the things that were successes, because I think we try to be humble, or I don't even know what we're trying to do. Not give us a compliment for the job well done that we do, which is absurd because, hello, why are we so quick to negatively tear ourselves down? But when we try to compliment ourselves at what a good job we're doing, it's like a huge no no. So, right now, give yourself some time to think about all the things that you have done good. And it's going to feel weird because moms, I think we tend to push ourselves away and put ourselves down so that we can raise our kids up. And I don't think that was ever how God intended motherhood to be. I don't think that's how moms should act. And I think that's just the culture that was developed that everybody just accepted and went with, and myself included. So, I'm going to I'm going to do an icebreaker for us. I'm going to say the things that I did do well today as a mom. And while I'm saying this, you better be thinking of the things that you did well, and then you better pause this podcast and say it out loud, either to yourself or to your kids or to your husband, or write it down, whatever. But it needs to be voiced some way, somehow. Okay, so this is what I did well as a mom today. My daughter is sick, and so I gave her medicine. I read all the labels of how much she's supposed to have and what she's supposed to do. And instead of cleaning my house, I cuddled with her and we watched her favorite show, Jake and the Neverland Pirates. And we cuddled for 2 full episodes, and it was fantastic. And tonight, when I was tucking her in, she said, "I just love you so much, Mom." And that was the best thing that could have ever happened to me. And so, maybe my house is not clean, and maybe I could have been playing and not watching a screen, but I'm going to take it as a mom win because my daughter said she loved me. She knew I was there for her. We got cuddle time, and I gave her the correct medicine. So, there we go. I'm a good mom. Great. Okay, now your time. Pause. Okay, I gave you some awkward silence so that if you didn't pause it, you would have some quiet to think. All right. So, I want to kind of think outside the box, have a paradigm shift, if you will, about what a good mom really is. Like, realistically, what is a good mom? And I had lots of people respond on my Instagram, and I want to tell all of you some of the things because I think if we give a definition to a good mom, it will help us understand that we all are good moms. Because when you say, "Oh, I'm not a good mom," or "that makes me a bad mom," or "I just hope I'm a good mom," or "I'm so afraid that I'm not going to be a good mom," I think ending the sentence at good mom leaves so much open for questioning. And it's like, oh, if we don't have a clear definition, then how do we know for sure if we're winning or failing, succeeding or not? So I want to give a definition to this overwhelming sentence, good mom, be a good mom, because I hope that then we can in turn understand the definition a little bit more and realize that it applies to all of us, whether we were thinking it did or not. And hopefully, then we can kind of have a little bit more compassion for ourselves and realize we all are good moms. Because if you're afraid that you're not being a good mom, that is a great indicator that you are a good mom. Because if you weren't a good mom, you wouldn't care if you were doing a good job. All right? Okay, let's get into some of these responses. Oh, come on, come on. Sorry, this first one. This is my first time really reading through them. It says, "I'm not a mom." Oh, good. I thought this person said, "I'm not a good mom." I was like, Oh, come on, girly. You are a good mom. All right, she said, I'm not a mom, but I feel being a good mom is all about prioritizing your kids and your hub too. Love that. I love that. I think definitely prioritizing your kids over, you know, I agree with this to a point. I think putting your kids first and prioritizing their needs, I guess let's clarify this. Prioritizing doesn't mean putting first. Okay? And what I mean by that is sometimes I think we have to put our kids or our husband or our family or our house or everybody else's wants before our own as a mom. And I don't necessarily agree with that. I think all the needs are a priority and need to be met. So I guess I just assumed what she was saying. She didn't say put the kids first. It said prioritize your kids. So I love that. I think prioritizing your kids is a great way to be a good mom. Their needs and their desires does not mean that you have to put them. Okay, we're just going to cut that whole thing. Okay. She said, I'm not a mom, but I feel being a mom is all about prioritizing your kids and your hub too. All right. It's kind of cut off, so I'm probably not even going to say who these are. Okay, I have some thoughts about this. And I agree with this person. It is important to prioritize your kids and it is important to prioritize your husband and make sure that your family's needs are met. I also think and believe that your needs need to be prioritized as well. And so sometimes I think we get confused with putting our kids before ourselves or like putting the housework before ourselves, and that's not really prioritizing things. Prioritizing, I think, in my mind, would be their physical needs are being met, like meals and clothed and warmth and things like that. Like their physical needs are taken care of, and then their emotional needs are taken care of. I would not go as far to say that you have to prioritize your kids and completely forget about yourself because to me that is kind of a missed opportunity. And maybe this is a hot take. I think that could be a missed opportunity for your kids to see how to love themselves by your example. And I'm going to talk about this later, but I think that is something I have really learned through motherhood and my own motherhood journey is like showing my kids how to be independent by being independent myself, or showing my kids how to chase after their dreams by chasing after my own dreams. And I used to beat myself up and think I was a bad mom because of that. And turns out I just switched my mindset and realized that what better way to show my kids that you can build the life you want to live by showing them building the life I've always dreamed of and supporting them while they build their dream life. But yes, I do think prioritizing your kids' needs is important. Just don't forget about yourself. Okay, next one says someone who genuinely cares for their children sacrifices willing to learn and love. I think that willing to learn is a huge thing that gets swept into the bad mom category. Because how on earth are you going to learn to be a quote unquote good mom if you don't make mistakes and you don't continue to learn, you know? So thank you for saying that because being willing to learn and understanding that you're going to make mistakes is what makes you a good mom. So if anybody else failed in motherhood today, good job. You're a good mom. Okay. Next one says, cute. I think that mom guilt is powerful. We are good moms and the guilt is always there. I would agree. You know, I think it's just something we do not even thinking about it. We just go for it and tell ourselves that we're bad moms or have guilt. And that's what this whole podcast, my whole goal, if you take anything away from this, is when you tell yourself, oh, I'm a bad mom for doing this, take 5 extra seconds and say, wait, no, stop. I am not a bad mom for doing this. I'm a good mom. Or I think our minds are so quick to jump to, I'm a bad mom. Why don't we change that narrative and be like, I'm a good mom because I'm trying. I'm a good mom because I'm loving. I'm a good mom because I'm learning. Just switch that up. So the mom guilt is always there. And I think we can work towards having it leave. Okay, next one. I think a good mom is just a mom who loves her kids and tries her best for them. Amen. If that was the only definition we were going off of, not her hair's not good, her hair's not perfect, I'm a bad mom, or she ate ice cream for dessert after dinner and I bribed her with that ice cream, I'm a bad mom. Like, what? Why is that the default? What if it was like, I'm trying my best and I love them. I'm a good mom. Okay? Great. Next one. A good mom is simply a mother that tries her best and puts her baby's needs above her own. Yes, I would agree. And when their needs are met, make sure you meet your own needs. And maybe people will get mad at me for that, but I think God said the two great commandments: love thy neighbor as thyself and love God. So, who is your neighbor other than your kids? Who are you interacting with daily? Who are you closest with daily? Your children. And obviously, this parable is not literal. You're not your next door neighbors. It's like the people around you, the people you associate with. Love them as you love yourself. So, I think that my kids are my neighbor in this story parable that Christ is telling. My kids are my neighbors, and if I'm going to love them, I got to love myself first. So, love that, prioritize them, put their needs above your own, absolutely. And make sure your needs are met as well. Okay. My kids' best interest at heart. Love that. I think that is a perfect simple definition. My kids' best interest at heart. Okay, let's see. Next one. Oh, this is cute. Okay, she did two. She said, Chili from Bluey. Simply put, of course. I freaking love that. I am obsessed with Chili and Bluey and Bingo and Bandit, all of them. Rainy kind of isn't in a Bluey phase, and I'm really sad about it. We're in a Jake and the Neverland Pirates phase, which is still funny, but man, Bluey was for the kids and the parents. Okay, next one. Someone who is intentional with the way they parent their kids. My father-in-law said this. Sweet. Good advice. I think intentionality and being intentional is a great way to be a good mom, because if you are very busy, but you have 15 minutes to give your kids and you are very intentional about that, I think that makes you an amazing mom rather than somebody who has all the time in the world with their kids but isn't intentional about it. So, good job. Intentionality. Intentional? I don't know if intentionality is a word. Okay, moving on. Someone that loves their kids and is trying her best. Love that. Thank you. Okay. Trying every day. Perfect. I haven't figured it out yet. Still, after 6 kids, I feel inadequate. You know, you have 6 children. That is incredible. And I can see who it is. She has not only 6 kids, she has 6 boys. She has raised 6 boys. So let me tell you this. Feeling inadequate is so normal and so real as a mom. And that is what I am trying to change. I'm trying to make it more natural to think that we are a good mom and identify the good that we do. Because I know this lady, because I'm not going to say names. I'm going to keep these anonymous, but I can see who said this, and I think she is an incredible mother. So I'm sorry that you still feel inadequate, and I know that you are a great mom. Okay, next, giving your best effort, be intentional and present, making reparations when we fall short. Okay, I'm not a really good reader. Yeah, reparations when we fall short. Reconciling. I think that is beautiful. Beautifully said. And I think the intentional we already covered and being present. I sometimes get distracted by my phone a lot. So I think being present is huge. And when you do fall short, coming clean about it and reconciling, I feel like that will do more good when you fail, when you fall short, going to your kid and apologizing or making amends. I think that will be more beneficial to them than any picture perfect motherhood thing that you could do. Okay, next. A good mom is someone who is always mindful that they share custody with our Father in heaven. I love that. Oh my gosh, I love that. And to tie that in, you share custody with your Father in heaven, and I believe that God wouldn't send you this child if He didn't truly believe that you could take care of this child and give this child the experiences that they need in this life to become who God needs them to be. And so that's really helped me to be like, okay, I am supposed to be Rainey's mom. I am supposed to be Park's mom. God trusts me with that, and I'm going to take that trust seriously and also give myself grace when I fall short, because the experiences that I'm giving them are the things that they need to shape who they are in this life. So thank you for saying that. I love that so much. Oh, guess what, guys? I just I just found the other one. I took so many screenshots. I missed it. Okay. I asked, "Do you feel like you're a good mom?" And then it said, "Yes, all the time." 39%. And then it says, "No, constantly beating myself up." 61%. So, just wanted to throw that in there. Okay, let's see here. I just want to make sure that I read all of them. Okay. Next says, someone who shows up for their child no matter what. Yes, love that. Trying, doing your best, happy and healthy kids. I would say kind kids too, but kids are in. Oh, she responded more. Okay, I need to go to my DMs on my Instagram. These were just screenshots because I didn't want them to go away. Okay. Here. Kids are constant work in progress, and all kids have their moments. I love that. So trying your best, doing your best, happy, healthy kids, and when kids are kind, but also giving yourself compassion, because you never know. One day, Rainy will be the most polite little girl on the earth. And then the next day, she's crying and throwing a fit because she's trying to figure out her emotions and her life. So, thank you for clarifying that. Okay. Next says someone who would give every ounce of their comfort for their kids. I love that. I do think, like, I love that. I do think that a mom will do anything to make herself uncomfortable to make sure her kids are comfort. And I can say that with confidence because pregnancy is a prime example of that. You are either sick, throwing up, or your body is changing to sizes that you couldn't even imagine they get, and it's aching, your back hurts, you're uncomfortable when you sleep. So, yes, I think to start out your motherhood journey, you definitely forego comfort. And then it's like your kid wants to be carried because their feet hurt or they're cold, so you give them your jacket. But you happily do it because you love them. So I love that. Okay, next. I've come to learn it is someone who loves their kids deeply and makes sure they know it daily. I love that. I try to tell Rainy every day, I love being your mom because I do love my career. I love my car. I got a mom car that I love. I love social media. I love all these things, and it's clear to see what I'm passionate about. I love Jesus, and I just want to make sure that she always knows that I love being her mom. And so I love that daily reminder of that daily telling your kids that you love them. Okay, next. Oh, oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, that was everything. So, I hope that if you heard something in that resonates with you, you take it and understand that there's a million definitions of being a good mom, but I think just to summarize those, bottom line is you love your kids, you make sure their needs are met, and you help them become who God wants them to become. And I think if you're doing those three things, you are a good mom. And I think if you're trying and giving them experiences in this life to become productive, good, helpful, happy humans, you're a good mom. So, next time you accidentally feed your kid moldy bread, guilty of that, or the next time you lose your temper and yell at your kid, heaven forbid, I definitely do that. So sorry. But you know what? I try to reconcile. I try to go back and apologize, and I give her an experience that she can learn. Sometimes you're not in control, but it's going to be okay. All right. Re-say that. Okay, so I hope you took something away from those definitions that people shared. That was just a few that I screenshotted and then the rest disappeared. So I'm sorry if you commented and I didn't share your comment. But I'm hoping to do tons of these throughout this podcast history. So make sure that you reply. Or if you don't know, follow me on Instagram, Aspen Bailey. And that's where I'm going to ask all the questions. But, anyways, I hope you found something that resonates with you and then take that and help re and I hope you take that and kind of give yourself a clear definition of what a mom is. And with that definition, use it to give yourself grace and compassion and realize that being a good mom isn't this hard, vague, unachievable thing. It's something that you're doing every single day, right here, right now. And so, just the kind of takeaway from all of those that I gathered and what I took to heart was if I'm loving my kids, if I'm trying my best, and I'm willing to help give them the life that they need to become who God needs them to become, then I'm being a good mom. And so, if I fall short, I trust that I can make it right and try my best the next day and teach my kids that through my mistakes, they can learn and they can grow. And through their mistakes, they can do the same. So let's just give ourselves all some love and compassion and not try to reach this unobtainable perfection that just simply doesn't exist. And just allow yourself to believe that you are a good mom. because you are. Okay? Okay. All right. There's two more really important things that I want to talk about. First is I kind of touched on this, but I want to dive a little bit deeper into this and I want to clarify what I mean because this could be a hot take and maybe it's just my personal bias, but I think the best moms in life are working moms. Now, let me clarify what I mean. I do not mean that you need a 9 to 5 job or even a quote unquote job. I don't think you need to be in an office or climb the corporate ladder. I'm not saying that. I think if you're doing those things, you are a good mom. I think if you aren't doing those things, you are a good mom. But let me clarify and explain what I mean. I think sometimes, and I definitely did this when I was born. And I hope that when I say things on this podcast, it's absolutely because I've struggled with it and God has helped me learn this new perspective. And it's not like me putting myself on a pedestal talking down to you because I am in the trenches with you. I am literally struggling to be accepting of the fact that I'm a good mom every single day. And I'm struggling with having enough quality time and finding a balance and you know having those guilts. Like I just don't want you to think that I am talking down to you or think that I'm better or I have all the answers because I don't. But I do think that God has helped me realize that I'm not failing as much as I would tell myself I was. So that's what I'm trying to convey to all of you. Okay, back to working moms are the best moms. All right, what I mean by this, I think as a mom, when I became a mom, I really was so hard on myself about the fact that I had to leave my kids to go work. And it wasn't like, well, one, I love my job. I've been a YouTube perfect. Well, one, I love my job. I've been a YouTube producer for 6 years now, and it's so fun and so fulfilling. Um, and I had to work because my husband was in school. He's still in school. He's going to be a doctor, and he's only in his first year of med school. So here I am, not only loving and enjoying my job, but also having to do my job to provide for my family. And so I would beat myself up all the time, like I need to stay home, or I compared to my friends who were stay at home moms, and it just was not healthy for me or my family dynamic because I was constantly beating myself up. But what I've learned through these years of working, and now I have quit my job, and now I'm pursuing this podcast as my hopeful career. Um, I realized that the time I was away from my kids was hard and it was good for them because they got to see what hard work was and they got to see how to create a career that you love. And they see that from their dad working so hard in school. And I never really realized or gave myself the opportunity to tell myself that they're learning the same principles from me, watching me go to work and have a career. And like I said earlier, if you don't have a 9 to 5, if you don't have a typical job, you're a stay at home mom, I think having passion projects or hobbies is so important for moms, not only for your own mental health and your own sanity, but also I think it's very important because it shows your kids that it's good to take care of yourself. It's good to pursue your own interests. It's good to have things that excite you and goals to work towards, whether it's climbing corporate ladder or planning a party or doing a hobby or whatever it may be. I think it's important for your kids to realize through your example that they could do that same thing for themselves. Okay, so my husband just got home from school, and so I took a pause, say hi to him, and I came back to realize that my camera is dead. So I'm recording this audio on my laptop and through a different, anyways, but the audio for this is great, hopefully, but the video is non-existent. So I don't know when it died or turned off. Whoops. Oh well. Um, yeah, that sucks so bad. I don't want to start over because it's 42 minutes in. Oh well, maybe this first one we're just gonna have audio. Or maybe I'll do the video and then it just have audio. Man, that was a real bummer. Okay, back on topic. Hopefully this is making sense and you're not taking it the wrong way. Because I think if you're a stay-at-home mom, you are a fantastic mom. I just think there are a lot of moms that I have met that have a dream or desire to do something and they don't do that thing because they're afraid that they're going to be a bad mom. And I just want to make it clear that you can do both. You can have your hobby. If your hobby is playing pickleball, join a pickleball league. Go play once a week and practice twice a week. Like give yourself that time because it will show your kids that it's important to do things that are important to yourself or have interest in. Or if you've been wanting to start a business, but you think, I'm not going to be a good mom, I can't do this business and be a good mom. I'm just here to tell you, you can and you will be a good mom because if you're passionate about something, and I know you're passionate about being a mom, that's why you're questioning if you should do the career or not because you don't want to take away from your kids. You will always make sure your kids are taken care of. I just think we go about our needs in a wrong way because we're afraid to not take care of our kids, which is incredible. And I think it's sometimes unfair that moms have to struggle with that. Like, do I have a career or do I have a kid? Or if I pursue my passion, are they going to be left out? And I'm just here to tell you, you can do both. And you are a great mom if you do both. Um, so if you've been wanting to start a business, this is your opportunity or permission, I guess. I'm giving you permission to do it. If you've wanted to, I don't know, what's something else? Have a hobby, start a career. I don't know, but if you've been having this dream for a long time, but not letting yourself do it out of fear of being a bad mom, I'm just here to tell you that you're not going to be a bad mom, that you can and will do both. Great. You'll be great at both. Okay. Along those lines, the last thing I want to say is we often tell ourselves, I can't do that because we're afraid we're going to be a good mom or not be a good mom, or I'm afraid that my kids' needs won't be met, or I'll be letting them down. Or in general, I think being a mom is terrifying. Or we're constantly, even if it's not like pursuing something or a passion or a hobby or a project, it's just in general, I'm terrified that I'm not a good mom, or I'm afraid that what I'm doing is going to mess up my kids. I think that is totally normal because the call to be a mom is huge. To raise somebody, not only raise somebody, but to create somebody and then raise them to be a good, righteous, productive, independent human being is the most overwhelming thing that you could do. And I think it's natural and normal to be afraid that you're going to mess it up or be afraid that you're not doing it right. And I heard this in a podcast, so this is not me, but I loved it and I'm sharing it with you. But They were talking about how when God calls people, usually one of the first things he tells them is fear not. And they joked about, like, well, maybe he's saying, don't be afraid because there's an angel in front of them or God himself. And they're like, don't be afraid. But then they went on this tangent of, like, what if he's saying fear not? Like, telling them, don't be afraid of what I'm about to call you to do. And I think there's so many times in motherhood that I'm terrified of what God has called me to do. And I think, oh crap, what have I done? Like, am I messing up my kids? Am I not being good enough for them? Um, and I think that just resonated with me so much when I heard this. They were talking about New Year's goals and chasing things like that, but I related it to motherhood. And that's why I want to share it in this podcast, is because I think God is constantly telling us to fear not, because he never intended for us to do parenthood alone. And I mean that in, like, maybe you have a partner and you're doing parenthood together, but I also think it means he wants us to do it with him, or he wants us to have a village around us of moms supporting moms or family supporting moms. And ultimately, I think he wants to support you above all. Like, I believe every human being is a child of God. And so he has given us his children to help raise in righteousness. And so I think the call is overwhelming and sometimes the most difficult thing I've ever done. And I think he's telling me, don't be afraid because I'm going to do it with you. Or don't be afraid because that's normal. I think if you're afraid of something, sometimes the world tells you, oh, that means you shouldn't do it. And I think it's quite the opposite. If you're afraid to do something, I think it's because you know you're supposed to do it and you know it's going to be hard and you know it's going to be challenging. And that's what scares you, is you know you're supposed to do it. And that's exactly what motherhood has been for me. I knew that I was supposed to be a mom and I knew that I wanted that, and it scared me, and I knew that I could do it as long as I had God to help me. And I realized that having a village of moms around me was so beneficial, especially when I'm not as lucky to have my husband around because he goes to school all day, every day, to provide a great life for us in the future. And so if you're afraid to be a good mom or to fail or any of that, just know that that's normal, and it means you're doing the right thing. That fear is telling you you're exactly where you're supposed to be because it's hard and it's unknown and it's challenging, and that's exactly why you were called to do it, because it's not only going to change you and who you are, but it's going to help you become so much greater than you ever thought, and you're going to be able to help your kids become that too. I hope that made sense. Kind of just got lost in my train of thought and just really, ultimately, I just think motherhood is one of the greatest and hardest things in life. And I think we can be a lot kinder to ourselves. So, there we have it. My first podcast. This is crazy. If you could be so kind, like I said, this is kind of my new career venture. If you could be so kind to leave a 5-star review, that would mean the world to me, because leaving reviews is how podcasts grow. So if you could just take 5 minutes at the end of this and leave a review, that would be huge. Thank you so much for listening. This is Mom Talk. If you want to be on the podcast or know somebody that would be phenomenal for me to interview, let me know. Drop a comment, shoot me a DM. Or if there's something that you want to talk about that you want to make less taboo in motherhood or make more open, or just get thoughts and ideas from me and other people that I ask, I would love, love, love to hear it. So comment, DM me, and subscribe, follow, all the things. Thanks for being here, and I will talk to you next week. Bye.